We move forward. Week 5. What do we got week 5? Oregon at Penn State. That's going to be phenomenal. Oregon last year goes undefeated, beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. They were the number 1 seed and then obviously got bounced by Ohio State. But I actually think that this game is bigger, not for Oregon, but for Penn State. Not only is it at home, but remember, I keep telling you about this idea that they have to beat somebody that they are evenly matched with, or even not evenly matched with, i.e., upset someone. Penn State has gotten so good at winning all the games that they should win. James Franklin does that perfectly, and I do not want to disparage that. That is a talent. That is not something to scoff at. They have done a great job. Penn State is an excellent program. They're a great program. In a lot of ways, I think that they could win the national championship this year. One of the things that they're going to have to do is find a way to win those, what I would call matchup games. When talent is equated and you've got the same talent that you're looking across the field at, can you win those games? And up to this point, that's where they've struggled. Now, they've gotten closer in some of those matchups, had Ohio State, the eventual national champion, on the ropes. They were unable to convert inside of the 5. Played a really good game against Oregon, played a great game against Notre Dame in the national semifinal. So it's there. It's there for them. And this is their next opportunity. If they could win that game, man, that would announce to everybody like, hey, Penn State is ready. They're ready for that stage, and they could potentially make a run and do something bigger than just win the games that they should. I would also note from an Oregon perspective, this would be Dan Lanning's first opportunity post getting blown out by Ohio State to really show what they're made of and say to themselves, like, yeah, we're over that game. You know, it was a bad process, let's be honest, with the CFP, where the best team had to all of a sudden play Ohio State in a neutral site, and they got beat, and they got beat badly. And that Ohio State team was not going to lose to anybody. As evidence, they went on to win the national championship. But this is their opportunity, speaking of Oregon, to really show that they're going to move forward from that. They're going to grow from it. They're going to develop, and they're going to continue to play on the elite level. And if they can win at Penn State, which I think in a lot of respects is the toughest place to win a football game in the Big Ten, then that would be saying something for that program. Alabama is at Georgia. Hello. This is an obvious one. I don't have to go into this deeply at all. This game is a classic. It is always great. There's a couple of games on this list that fall into this category that is just like, yeah, they can play in a parking lot. It's going to be not only a great game, but it's going to be a highly meaningful game. Winner of this game likely goes to the SEC championship. I don't see the winner of this game not being a top 2 seed in the SEC. So that's why it's vital, really, and so important. Then you get the implications of, like, is Alabama back at their level that they were with Nick Saban? This is a huge early test for Kalen DeBoer in year 2. If they're able to beat Georgia, is Georgia slipping back to them? They beat them last year. If they beat them again this year, it's like, wait, what's going on with Kirby in Georgia? They lost to Alabama last year in DeBoer's first year. They lose to Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame in the college football playoff. Is Georgia still Georgia? I think they need to win this game to be considered that. If Bama wins, by the way, bunch of winnable games after this. So Kirby and the Dogs, they'll be ready. That game is between the hedges. Then we move forward all the way to week 10. There's a few in there that I wanted to incorporate, but again, we only have 10. These are the 10 games that are going to really develop the slate for this season. Most important games, if you will. Week 10, November 1st, Penn State at Ohio State. That's obvious. Likely another top 5 matchup. Another opportunity for James Franklin and Penn State to get a marquee win. Okay, if they don't get it against Oregon, there's going to be a ton of pressure on them in this matchup to get it against Ohio State, in particular in a year in which Ohio State's going to be breaking in a new quarterback, breaking in 2 new coordinators. It's like, if you don't beat this version of Ohio State, don't you just expect Ryan Day to continue to reload and build something that might even be better in the future? I think that would be your anticipation, in particular with the fact that this is the most experienced and talented team that James Franklin's going to have at Penn State in his tenure. So this is a monster. Drew Aller back in Ohio. Huge opportunity for him. And the loser of this game, precarious spot. as it relates to the Big Ten championship game. We'll see how it all plays out, but it was just like a wild loss from Ohio State against Michigan that got Penn State back and into the back door and into that Big Ten championship game last year against Oregon. Can you expect that again? Probably not. So the loser, I just don't think that you can expect, even though it happened last year, you can't expect that you're going to go to the Big Ten championship game. So that one's going to be a huge one. That one's going to be in Columbus, November 1st. Week 11, November 8th. I started thinking to myself, like, okay, if games kind of go how we think, like, let's just say Georgia beats Alabama in week 5. That's not out of the realm of possibility, clearly, in particular being at home. Let's just say that Clemson were to beat LSU, because I think Clemson's going to be amazing. Clemson's going to be at home. Well, now all of a sudden, you've got this game, week 11, November 8th, LSU at Alabama, and you're talking about a monster game with playoff implications. I don't know if the loser of this game can get over that and still get into the playoffs. Maybe they can, but I don't know if they can. This is not like an Alabama-Georgia game, where I'm like, okay, listen, winner's going to go to the SEC championship game. This game, LSU-Alabama, feels a lot more like you got to win it to go to the playoff. Now, we'll see what happens in some of those weeks prior, but this one could be that type of implication. Battle for maybe the 3-4 spot in the SEC, presumably that playoff berth. You've got, again, the implications that I talked about for LSU earlier and Brian Kelly needing to take the step forward. And then certainly for Kalen DeBoer, you can't expect that he's going to get a ton of runway from the faithful at Alabama. The way things finished last year was not, quote, Alabama. And so he's got tough test at Georgia, but you got to beat LSU at home. These are kind of the standards that they've set for themselves there with Alabama, and he's going to have that chance there week 11, November 8th. And that was the 9th game, and so we only have one more game, and there's really only one more game that you can possibly put on this list, and that is Ohio State at Michigan. It is the game. We're all waiting for it. Why? These are the two teams that won the last 2 national championships. You've got all of the backstory of how this game finished last year. My goodness, how many times are we going to see all of that video with Mason Graham pounding his chest and then all of a sudden the flag's getting waved around, the Michigan flag, they're trying to plant it on the field, and then all of a sudden the pepper spray comes out because there is a fight going on. Like, holy cow. Like, we get to see this matchup again. It's going to be in the Big House. If you're watching on YouTube, you should be. We're showing footage of that crazy, wild end to the classic game between Ohio State and Michigan a year ago. Ohio State got their national championship, but then you still have these Michigan guys that are like, yeah, well, you didn't beat us, and we won our national championship going 15-0. So this year's game is going to be epic. Could Michigan, who's got 5 straight wins in this series, could they actually get to 4 straight wins in this series? Could they actually get to 5? Like, if we just think back to the COVID year, I'll be real honest. I didn't think Michigan was going to win for the foreseeable future. And now all of a sudden they've rolled off 4 straight. Last year, you got the fighting, you got the pepper spray, you got the flags, you got the game. That has to go on the list. There are others that I missed, and I understand, but I tried to give you guys a walkthrough next season with the 10 games that will shape the season. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.